people. This is Mac and Bob with Mac Commentary. Today we have a real good show here for you. We're going to discuss all the implications and everything going on with the arrest and the indictment, the arrest of our former president, Donald Trump. I want to put a disclaimer here that we are neither for nor against Mr. Trump, but we are for democracy in these United States. Do you agree with that, Bob?
I do agree.
Bob, how do you see this whole fiasco playing out and what they've done to a former president of these United States, and how does that affect this democracy here, and with everything else that's going on in the world, and how people look at these United States government?
Well, Mac, I think that what is happening to former President Trump is a travesty of justice. And I think that nations all around the world are watching this. Despots who run countries are looking at this saying, now they told us that that's not the way it is. I shouldn't be running my country. I should be running my country like they do, but I've been running it like I want to. And now they're doing the same thing. Because what I see happening is you've got a president right now who is threatened by the fact that Mr. Trump is going to run for re-election and get win that election, and perhaps turn on and begin to prosecute him and his son for the numerous crimes that they allegedly have committed while he was the vice president, and even before that, while he was a senator for so many years. So I think what he has done is he has taken the Justice Department, since that's a part of the executive office, and he has turned it into a lethal weapon against Mr. Trump. And these countries around the world are taking very clear note of this circumstance, because that's how most despots want to run a country. They want to be able to eliminate everything that's confronting them, so that in the end they don't have any competition. And that's what I think is what we're seeing being played out here, Mac.
Well, there's something that's a very valid points that you make right there, Bob, because Russia right now is having a meeting with all of its a trade meeting, and the European countries aren't going to be there, but many of these countries who are not involved in the sanctioning of Russia will be there. So Russia no longer has the European countries or the United States, if they ever sold anything to us, to sell their goods, any type of trading with them at this time. But with over 80% of the countries in the world, they will be trading with Russia. And that including India, China, South America, Brazil, and many of these other countries in Asia. So I think all of that has kind of backfired. And when, like you said, when they see what is happening with these United States government and how they are running democracy into the ground, I think they are going to side more with those other countries like Russia and China to a certain extent. Because even China today is, even though it's a communist country, there is much capitalism going on in that country. And the same thing with Russia. So how do you see these other countries? How would they look towards the United States and as far as trade and other things, that buying weapons and different things like that? How do you see that going forth in the future?
Well, I think that in a sense, uh, the leadership of this country today has really run the car into the ditch. Into the ditch, and by that I mean this: these other countries, all 100 plus of them throughout the world, have pretty much followed the lead of the United States since World War II, you might say,
Yeah.
and pretty much anything that the leadership in this country told them to do, like forming NATO, like rebuilding Europe, rebuilding Germany, going in, taking over smaller countries, strictly by military might, uh, anything like that has been pretty well accepted by these other countries. But and because they've looked at America kind of as a country that had no sin. Uh, we're a sinless country. I think that's the way we were viewed. But today, with all of that has come out over the last 20 plus years, they're beginning to see that their leadership is no less corrupt than we are. And what we've been doing is right. And they're showing us that by taking a guy that was the president of the United States, and we're going to make an example of him, of how if you don't run, if you come in here talking about you're going to drain the swamp and clean up things and practice what you preach, we've got news for you, because we have been known ever since we came here. That's why the Native American, the so-called Indian, said that the Caucasoid spoke with a forked tongue. He would say one thing and do something else. And that has been the foreign policy of these United States since World War II. It says one thing, but it does another. And I wanna digress just a moment here.
Go ahead, bro.
Uh, Back as a Negroid in America, I see that so clearly. You know, in my 83rd year on this planet, it is crystal clear to me how, speaking with a forked tongue, this nation has kept me and all of my brothers and sisters of the black race, so-called the Negroid race, kept us in check. And I'm going to say this: because of that, speaking with the forked tongue, uh, they they deceive us and keep us confused, such that now is an opportunity for us to uh, uh, put some closure to the wealth gap by really advocating for reparations, and 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 to show you that there is no real honesty in that forked tongue conversation. All it would take is the Caucasoid leadership of this country to say to these nations around the world, look, we are with our heart and with our soul ready to help these descendant slaves uh, 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 get their fair share of America. And to show you how fair we are, we're going to provide them with $350,000, every single one of them, with reparations. And that would have a tremendous effect. But no, They don't do that. What did they do? They take a president, I mean, a person who was the president, and they keep us confused by sidetracking, trying to make him look like a criminal when you've got people in the White House and in the administration right now who are committing criminal acts by taking bribes, according to the news media. Taking bribes, and the whole family is taking bribes, and in previous administration, there was all kinds of chicanery like this going on, and nothing was ever brought out by the news media. So when I see this kind of behavior on the part of my country, my leadership, it just lets me know that the fork tongue syndrome of American foreign policy is alive and well, and it's not going to change in my lifetime, Mac.
Well, you hit on some very good points right there, Bob, and I concur with your analogy. I mean, for one thing, if you go and look, I don't think it's just the blacks either that's getting the whip right now. a lot of caucasoids, as you call them, are also getting that whip, and by that I mean the oligarchs. The oligarchs. That's the business, the industrial owners of this country. They are who are running this country and the world. But they are doing such a lousy job because the country used to be for the people, by the people. And that's where it was pretty much set up. And it ran like that for some time. But now, when these oligarchs got so powerful and saturated with so much wealth, they now are continuing down that road with power. What they have done, they have really taken these industries and placed them in other countries in order to increase their wealth. How many billions of dollars do they need? But they are competing with each other, Bob. And that's what they needed for more power. And they are destroying not only this country, but they are destroying the world with their greed. And they are the ones who tell the government what to do. They're the one that's are the puppeteers of with the strings telling Biden what to do in his administration. Because you look at the way things are with Biden, he doesn't have the forethought and the energy to run this country like it should be ran. So somebody out there telling them what to do, and somebody told me it was the Atlantic Alliance, who are all elites from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Dartmouth, and you name all, Columbia, you name all the schools. They are the elites, and they are the ones that's really controlling. You got these mega industrialists over them, technocrats, whatever you want to call them now. They are the ones that's controlling this country. They are ones that causing the wages to plummet for the middle class. There's no more middle class in America. Oh, you go and look at the factories. At one time, the automobile factories in America, that made many black households as well as white households middle class. They were able to buy homes. But now it's almost impractical for them to go out there and buy a decent home with the wages they are making. Many of them barely make $15 an hour. So I mean, they are just really, Bob, destroying this country within. And the people, as you pointed out, in other nations, they are watching this with a keen interest. And if you go and you listen to some of the leaderships from these other countries, they'll tell you that, hey, they can say whatever they want to about China or Russia, but at least they have never come here to colonize us, even though some people might uh, dispute that as far as China goes, has never, they try to say that there's neo-colonialism going on right now with China in Africa. But if you go there and you listen to these people, they'll tell you that they are much better off since China has come over there and built up infrastructure where they are now able to start businesses and able to transport those products that they make from one city to another in their country. And right now, China's building a Silk Road throughout Africa so that countries can be connected to each other. So I think, Bob, what you're saying, other countries are taking note of this, but what they are doing in this country is affecting many whites as well. Look at what's happening with the morality in this country. Look at the Satanism and the satanic stuff that's going on in this country. So we, as a people, like you said, Black people in particular, we've got to fight and fight to get our reparations, Bob. And as you so aptly put it, we should be demanding it from those who are in power. The elected officials, they should be out there marching with all Blacks, demanding reparations. How do you see that, Bob?
Well, I think what you say is right on point. You know, I'm going to call them the ruling class,
The ruling class.
that rules not only America and has ruled America. They have this superstructure, as you identified it. They take the best from the best schools and they put them in positions and they treat them like you very astutely point out, as puppets. They'll take a Bob, put him in a position, pay him $500,000, $1 million a year, and Bob will do whatever the puppeteer wants him to do in order to maintain that position. And I've got to realize there's 350 million of us in this country. And so let's just assume that of that 350 million, there are 35 million puppeteers. And of that 35 million puppeteers, you've got another 40 or 50 million that are the puppets. And then of that 40 and 50 million, you've got the others of us. Because when I look back and think about the fact that, as you pointed out about the factories and all of the work that went into bringing particularly the Caucasoid to the level of a middle class living. Also, the obligation that went with that from the puppeteers was that you be willing to fight and die for this paycheck. Because if I look back over history from really from the Civil War, who have been those that have given up their lives? Not the puppeteers and not the puppeteers' relatives. A few of them have, because that was what they wanted to do. But most of them were insulated from going to war. Those that gave up their lives, for the most part, in every war that America has started or been a part of, like that war going on right now over there in Ukraine, it has been funded, and lives have been sacrificed, primarily Caucasoid lives, because of the segregation and the policies of this country have been the so-called middle class or the lower class economically of the Caucasoid race. A lot of us have given up our lives too, but in proportion to the Caucasoid has been the victim of that. But he doesn't see that because he sees himself as a part of this Caucasoid world.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said the other day that wherever a Caucasoid goes in the planet, on the planet, he is given respect because he's a Caucasoid. You could take Bob, who's a Negroid, and a Caucasoid, and put us in pinstripe suits, custom shirts, custom shoes. Put me right next to a Caucasoid, and we'll walk into the same restaurant. I may have a $1 million certified check in my pocket, and the Caucasoid got a $20 bill, and they'll defer to him before they defer to me. And that's just the way it is.
Bob, you're so right on with that, because I've heard people talk about that in the countries over there, in particular in Africa and other Asian countries. Whenever you have that person, the Caucasoid, to go get off that airplane, he is given preferential treatment through customs in those countries, whereas they hold back Africans, say, coming from going into Tanzania, coming from Ghana. What they do is they hold them back. They hold them back and try to get away with the noise, Bob. And question them, and then they've got to pay a fee or they bribe, so they know that they want to get through customs. I've heard that on a number of occasions from videos I've seen. So you're so right. They have this preferential treatment. Wherever you go, whichever country you go into, I don't think the African countries are so much like that as much as they used to be. But they still are like that in many instances. If you go in some of the Asian countries, they are using like skin lightening creams and things to brighten themselves up to try to get their skin whiter, even though they might be really bright light, they will still use that to try to make their skin even white. Can you follow me? So
absolutely, I follow you, and it goes right back to the original point that you made when you opened up this conversation, and that is that people around the world are seeing this, and they're trying, even though they're dealing with a failing empire. A failing empire. America is a failing empire by virtue of them trying to destroy what was a leadership that was trying to bring it back. And so these countries around the world are beginning to see this, and they're looking at this and say, what's going on in the USA? I mean, why are they trying to strip Trump, former President Trump, and put him in prison for 400 years, let him die in prison, but all he was trying to do was uphold the American way of life, put it back on track, because he could see the plunder in the swamp that has been being created ever since World War I. He's trying to put it back on track, and now you've got a group that are in control of the country that are trying to slaughter him, and these other country leaders are watching this, and that's why, as you were pointing out, that's why they are now willing to say, look, we don't have to listen to you, USA, anymore. We're going our way. We're going with China. We're going with Russia. We're going with the country that we think are the countries of the future. We're going with the Belt and Road program of China. And that's what I see happening. Now, some people might say, well, you must be delusional, Bob. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
see that. Well, I do. I see the lies now. I mean, and the lies are so, I mean, they're so crystal clear to me today, strictly around this question of reparations. If they wanted to be so good to the Negroid, the ex-slave in America, giving each ex-slave $350,000, that wouldn't be shit. Pardon my French, back. That
Yeah,
wouldn't be anything. $350,000 is not a lot of money, but to show good faith to those that helped build this place, like Miss Bush says in her HR 414. You know, uh, look at everything. Be honest and say, look, you know, these people built this place off their blood, sweat, and tears, and we owe them this. Let's write them the check. But you think they'll do that? Hell no.
right.
Hell no,
Well,
man. That's
you're
because of
right.
the lies and the deceptions that we keep being told.
Well, Bob, I like to end this with this. What do you this question here? What do you think will be the ultimate? Just a prognosis. No, it's no crystal ball stuff. But what do you think will happen with Trump to come this time? Well, by next January, what do you think this whole situation will be? You think they will be in? They will have the trial going on during the primary?
Yes, I do.
Or, and do you think that it will? And how do you think that will affect Trump? Will he drop out?
No, I don't. This is what I think is going to happen, Mac. And again, as you say, this is not crystal ball. I don't profess to be able to read tea leaves or cards or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I see based upon my experience as a Negroid in America for 83 years. I'm an 83-year-old Negroid who has lived in this place, and I'm telling you what I've seen with my own eyes, experienced in my own experience. I think this is what will happen. I think former President Trump will run for re-election. I think he's going to win. I think he will. First of all, he's going to get convicted, and he's going to go to prison. And I think he's going to get, while he's in prison, he's going to win the presidency. And we've had a situation like this in the past. Old racist Woodrow Wilson, when he was the president, he's the one that brought up and made the espionage law of 1917, because he didn't like the fact that Eugene Debs, who was a socialist or communist, you know, a bio-communist socialist, ran against him. But Debs, he didn't win the presidency, but he went to federal prison in Atlanta because he was against some of the stuff that happened in World War I. And so Woodrow Wilson, who was a racist, and he sent about 2,000 people to prison. And Debs was one of them. So, okay, let's get back to Trump. I think that Trump, because of all of this stuff that's coming out, and I'm going to keep an open ear and an open eye for these 17 tapes that they just divulged here a day or two ago from this informant, this FBI informant, who said that he kept those tapes as an insurance policy for himself. And they haven't even yet begun to divulge all of the information and on him. But this is what I think will happen. I think that President Trump will get reelected in prison. He will pardon himself. And when he gets out, he will begin probably the most aggressive underwriting campaign that we have ever seen as a nation against the Bidens and the Biden family. That's my scenario for what will happen.
Well, Bob, I wanna thank you for that great prediction right there. And, I mean, that would be astounding if that happened. That would be unprecedented, just as Trump being arrested, indicted, and arrested. And they got another trial coming up here in another indictment coming up out of Atlanta pretty soon. So there will be 3 cases going simultaneously. I don't know about simultaneously, but probably next year against Trump. And it's going to be something to watch and to see the mockery and the idiosyncrasy of the people that's doing this. You know, it's going to be
Yes.
it's going to be hilarious to a certain
Yes.
extent, but it's also going to be very sad because our nation has gone to the bottom of the swamp.
That's right. That's
That
right, man.
Mr. Trump wanted to clean up, and they're at the bottom of it now, dredging it with all the stuff and crap that they can get, as you say, weaponizing all these different things against President Trump. And Bob, I
That's
want to
right.
thank you. I want to thank you for coming on this afternoon to give us all of this great insight into what is going on in our political world at this particular time.
Well, thank you back for having me, and God bless you, brother. Let's stay close to God.
Right, we will do that, Bob. And I want to thank the people for that tune in to listen to this here. Let's continue to follow us, people, and continue to get other people to follow us because we're not going to stop talking about reparations at all. No matter what we put out, everything going to have something about reparation because we need reparations, people. And we also need for you to like, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you and have a great day.